Hey everyone, and welcome into this next lesson on your DAW. So what does DAW stand for? Basically, this is the software that you use to record with, and DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation. That's basically, in a nutshell, what that means. So let me adjust my mic here a little bit. When you hear people talking about a DAW, that's what they're talking about. The software that you use to record your audio. It's also the software you use to edit your audio, to process your audio, to make it sound better. That's where all your plugins reside. And the thing that you use to make the final product of any voiceover is your DAW. So what DAW is the best? Well, one of the things that I always say, the DAW that is the best is the one that you know the most. It's the one that your workflow seems seamless, you're easy to get around it, and it's not that complicated. But in my professional opinion, for voiceover, for most of it, you want to be using Adobe Audition, flat out. Adobe Audition is it is the best, in my opinion, DAW that's out there. It is a subscription-based DAW. It's about $19 a month, and you get all updates instantly whenever they roll out something new, which is a couple of times a year. You get those automatic updates at no extra cost. Some people don't like to pay the monthly fee, and sometimes I may get that, but as a pro, hands down for me, Adobe Audition and so many other folks that are pros, specifically in voiceover, use Adobe Audition. There are a lot of different softwares out there like GarageBand, like Pro Tools, a lot of the other ones. Studio One is one that a lot of people use that do audiobooks because of the punch and roll features. But for the most part, most people that are pros in voiceover are using Adobe Audition. If you want to check that out, I've got a link right below this training here that you can go and get, I think, 30 days free on Adobe Audition and try it out and see what you think. But if you're going to switch from one DAW to another, it's going to be advisable that you do some training on it. You watch some YouTube videos, you dive into the help section, especially if you've never opened up Adobe Audition before. One of the key things, especially about Adobe Audition, that I love so much, there's a bunch of different features, but here are a couple of the features that I use pretty much on a daily basis. Adobe Audition has this amazing remix feature about it. For any music that you bring in, we're talking about music that does not have words in it. It's just instrumentals. So you can bring in any instrumental track that you download from, one of the sites that you get your music from or something like that. You can download a track, or if you already have some tracks, you can pull them into Adobe Audition, go to the remix feature of it, and it will remix that track to whatever length you want. One of the amazing things about that is, especially doing voiceover as long as I've done it, especially in the beginning days, one of the things that we used to do, you probably have done this before, you'll get an audio track and then you'll just chop it off at like the 30-second mark or the 60-second mark if you're doing a 30-second or a 60-second commercial, and you'll try and fade it out nicely or whatever. What Adobe Audition does, you can literally tell, you can bring in a 3-minute track, you can bring in a 45-second track, either long or short, doesn't matter. Tell it to remix, and you can tell it how long you want it to be. And it will remix that track and fade it out naturally like it was intended to be when the original track was made. There's a natural way that these tracks end. So you get the full effect of the track, and you have an exact time period that you're telling Adobe Audition, I want you to remix this stuff. And the thing about it is, it sounds beautiful, and it's perfect. It works every time. So that's one of the features. Another feature of Adobe Audition that I love, in conjunction with what I just told you about the tracks, if you're in a multi-track session, what you can do is you've got track 1 that's like your dialogue, and you can label it as dialogue. And your track 2, you'll have your music, your sound effects, things like that, so on and so forth. You can label that as music. You can make or remix the track for as long as you want it to be remixed. And then there's automatic ducking that you can literally control. And if you don't understand what ducking is, let me explain to you what ducking is. It's kind of what it sounds like. It ducks the music under your voice by a couple of dB. And you can actually tell Adobe Audition, I want you to duck the music by this much. So it'll play the track, and when it sees your voice coming, it ducks down under the voice, and then it stays ducked down under that voice until you're not talking anymore. So you've got to kind of adjust that and play with that. But it's one of the features that is so amazing within Adobe Audition for voiceover, are just those two things alone. To me, as a voiceover artist that does a lot of commercials, it makes it well worth it. And it's all customizable and controllable. So you've seen some of that as I was talking. You've seen how some of that works, and it just makes it so super easy, so super simple to do. So if you're one of the people out there, now there's a lot of folks, especially when you're just starting out, you're trying to do a lot of free options, right? So you'll download Audacity in many cases, and you'll try and figure out Audacity and how that works. And a lot of voice actors use Audacity from beginning to end of their career, so, but again, I'm planting my flag on Adobe Audition, period. It's what the top of the top are using. A lot of people that use Pro Tools, well, Pro Tools is if you've got a band and you've got musicians and you're doing, it's almost like, to me, in my opinion, Pro Tools is overkill for voiceover. Adobe Audition is the way that you want to go if you're going to be serious about your voiceover career. And if you're on the fence right now between, well, I've been using Audacity, let me just tell you, the quicker you switch over to what the pros are using, the better you're going to be down the line, especially when it comes to your sound, especially when it comes to how your audio is produced. Adobe Audition is going to make your life so much easier, because one of the things that so many VOs don't do is get a good education on their sound and how to produce their sound. I came across Tim Tippett. He is a trainer. He's an audio engineer, and he has simplified the process of, from compression to EQ. How many of you right now, are you confused about how to do EQ? Are you confused about compression? Are you confused about input-output levels, normalization, all that kind of stuff? You don't even have to answer. I know you are, because I was, until I went through this course that I found by Tim Tippett. And I've got a link to that in the description. And if you hurry, you'll probably be able to get a discount at the time of this taping. So you want to make sure that you check that out. I've taken the course. I've been in voiceover for over a decade. And what I learned from this course taught me more than I've ever known about how to produce my audio within my DAW, which is Adobe Audition. I did some research on Tim. Tim has worked with the top of the top. Herbie Hancock. He's worked on major motion picture films. He's worked with the top level voice actors like Joe Cipriano, and tuned in their studios to make sure that their audio was on point. You want to take the course. I can't teach it. I don't know it at that level, but I know enough to know that if I'm going to be serious about voiceover, that I needed to take that course. So I want you to click the link that's below, and it'll say something like Tim Tippett's audio course or something like that. I'm just glad that I found him, because it explains everything and shows you everything about how to do this right for voiceover. And if you're using a DAW, if you're using Adobe Audition as your DAW, you can't go wrong with this course. So I want you to make sure that you take that. When it comes down to editing your workflow, as far as, how you take out breaths, how you do normalization, as far as, taking out background noise and things of that nature, it's another reason to take Tim's course. There are a lot of videos out on YouTube about how to do editing, how to mix music with your voice and all of this and that, and the whole thing with background noise. And it's what you need to make sure that you master over and above. Probably more important than your performance in voiceover is how you process your voice and what it is that you're doing to it to get to that final product. Because so many people are losing jobs because they don't know how to do this. And if you're winging it, you're doing it wrong. So when it comes down to your DAW, once again, hands down, you want to use Adobe Audition. I can't say that any more emphatically than that. And in regards to your DAW and learning curve and how long it's going to take to learn, it's going to take you as long as you make it take. I was kind of funny, because I was on my way into the studio this morning and I was listening to a podcast by Ed Millett, I think is his name. And he says, he said, how I know I'm serious? Because I'm investing my time and my money. If I'm not investing my time and my money, I'm not serious. And so many times when you take a look at what so many people are doing in voiceover, which is wrong, it's one thing to dibble and dabble. It's one thing to dibble and dabble in voiceover. But are you serious about your career? You're going to be serious about the DAW you use. You're going to be serious about the training you use and the training that you get. And know this, that training goes on and on. So it should take you no more than 20 hours. And I did a whole webinar on that. No more than 20 hours to learn your DAW. And that is if you dig in and really try and understand it and learn it. So leave me a comment below this video. What DAW are you using? And also let me know if you're seriously considering switching over to Adobe Audition, because I've got the link for you to go ahead and do that. And I want your thoughts and comments about how you like it once you start using Adobe Audition. If you're an Adobe Audition fan, let me know that in the comments too, and what your favorite function of Adobe Audition is. So when it comes down to your DAW, I'm recommending Adobe Audition. I'm also recommending Tim Tippett's course to show you how to use Adobe Audition to process your voice. Take the course. I'm not even kidding. Take the course. And happy voicing. I'll see you on the next video.